I'm standing at one of the most iconic sites in southwest Norway. It's called Sverd fjell, or Swords in the Rock. It commemorates the legendary Battle of Fjord that took place on this fjord in 872, in which King Harald the Fairhair prevailed, and it unified Norway. And the purpose of the swords is to show that Norway will never be divided again. Why did I decide to come here today? As I'm thinking about the fact that so many of our countries, our communities, our churches, and even our individual families are so divided. We need to bury the hatchet, to use our American idiomatic phrase. We need to bury the sword, and yet how do we do that when it's so easy for sharp words to divide us? One of the books I brought along with me to Norway is Laurie Relleveld's new devotional, God's Abundant Mercy, 40 Days of Living in His Compassion. And a story Laurie tells has deeply moved me. Laurie, for a long time, was a full-time social worker doing crisis assistance. And late on one Friday afternoon, she was meeting with a very needy mother and her children who desperately needed assistance to get through the weekend. And Laurie thought, no problem. There's a church in our area that is known for its generosity. Surely they will help us. So leaving the woman and her children in the car, Laurie went in. The door was still open. She went up to the desk, told the woman in charge what she needed, only for the woman to say this: I am sick and tired of you social workers thinking you can just dump people on the door of the church without doing your own jobs. There are programs out there for people like her. Take her to one of those. This isn't our ministry day. I'm sorry, but we are closed for business. Laurie was aghast. She looked over her shoulder to see the hopeful mother and her children. She held up one finger. Laurie quietly took off her badge, put it on the counter, texted her boss to say, I am off the clock, and she prepared to let the woman have it. And then as she looked into her eyes, suddenly she heard the word, mercy, mercy. And the thought came to her, maybe you're dealing with not one desperate woman here, but two. And this is how Laurie responded instead. Let's not worry about my client just now. I've taken my badge off because I'm not just a crisis worker. I'm also a Christian. I believe God's people should always be there to catch women like her who have fallen between the cracks. But I suspect you believe that too. This church has a well-earned reputation for generosity. So help me understand what you just said. Tell me more. And with that unexpected kindness, the woman behind the desk broke, began to weep, said they'd had an unexpected death in the church. Everyone else had left for the grain site, leaving her to close up. It was the end of a long day and she was exhausted. And in her tears, she said, what if you hadn't been a Christian? What if my response had turned you away? I am so sorry. I think there's something we can do after all. And she went and she found some emergency gift cards. Why do I tell you that story? Other than the fact that I was deeply moved by it. Because as I look here at the Sverd fjell, the Swords in the Rock, I think of, again, so many of our communities, our churches, our families who are divided. We can be divided by politics, by religion, by different views of sexuality. And instead of picking up the sword to defend ourselves or responding with words of rebuke or response, instead if we would simply say, as Laurie did, help me understand why you just said what you did. Tell me more. Boy, could that change things for all of us. So, even as Norway buried the sword in 872, might we do the same in our lives today. Love you, friends.